What is happening, good people? We are here for Macro Dirt Podcast number 23 with Jared Dumpster Fire Dillian. What's up, JD?
What's up, vibrator tester?
Wow. There's all kinds of imagery that goes along with that. We're gonna get right into the Michael Jordan podcast today. Came in hot and we're going right in. This is Thanksgiving week, everyone, just so you guys know. This is Monday of Thanksgiving week. JD and I wanted to record a super fun podcast today. So we're going to keep it super light, right? We're going to go into the number 23s first, right?
Yes.
We've been having fun with that. What comes to mind, JD, when you hear 23?
Donnie Baseball.
Donnie Baseball, good call. What's amazing is that, the hero of number 23, Michael Jordan, was in basketball, but baseball ran with the number 23. Like there's Don Mattingly, Ryne Sandberg, Dave Justice, Kirk Gibson, Tino Martinez, Jason Giambi, like a lot of ballers wear 23 in baseball, which is pretty cool.
Don Mattingly should be in the Hall of Fame. And full stop.
Gotta be. Right. I think the only thing holding him back is that he doesn't have any World Series rings. But I mean, he was arguably the best player in the game for half a decade.
That's, I think this is my criteria for the Hall of Fame. If you are the dominant player at your position for 10 years, you get to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And he was the dominant player at first base for 10 years. So
everybody would have started a new Major League Baseball team around Don Mattingly.
Yeah.
For that decade, without a doubt. So to go back to 23s, what I love is that, we got all those names in baseball. In hockey, you've got Bobby Nystrom and Jeff Bukaboom for the local New York fans. Dave Andreychuk is a throwback. You got David Beckham wore 23 in soccer, which is
I didn't know that.
Yeah, one of the biggest rock stars ever. In football, Marshawn Lynch, very recent, number 23, made it popular. Devin Hester of the Bears is another one. But you know what I think is hysterical, JD? The fact that LeBron James wears 23. And people automatically say, oh, who are the great number 23s? It's like, oh, Michael Jordan and LeBron James. And I'm like, stop saying those two people in the same sentence. Right? If you're around for Michael, you just know. And JD, what's our favorite story about Michael Jordan? His famous throwing shade to LeBron James. You remember when someone asked Michael,
no,
how would you guys do again? How would the dream team do, your U.S. Olympic team?
Oh, I heard about this.
Against the current LeBron's Olympic team. And Michael was like, I think it'd be pretty close, but I think we would beat him. And the guy that asked him said, oh, you think it would be close? And Michael goes, well, some of us are over 60 now. You know what I mean? So that was just like the world's greatest champ throwing shade at LeBron, and it was awesome. But let's get back to the markets, JD. In my opinion, we've got an appointment-induced exuberance going on today. What are you seeing?
I mean, I know you're going to talk about stocks, but big moves in bonds and the dollar today, which is what I've been waiting for a couple of weeks. 2 macro dirts ago, I came on the podcast and said short the dollar. Well, that didn't work for 2 weeks. Finally worked today. So if you know anything about Bessent, he's a big fan of Shinzo Abe and the 3 arrows policy that he had in Japan. And one of those arrows was destroy the yen, right? So I've asked a couple of people about this theory. People said I'm a little bit nuts, but nobody said I'm really nuts. Nobody said this is outside the realm of possibility. I think in 2025, this is one of these Byron Wien 10 surprises for next year. I think the government will intervene against the dollar. I think the government will sell dollars to get the dollar down. It is massively overvalued any way you look at it, purchasing power parity, whatever. I think the dollar is really overvalued. So, yeah, I mean, there's a move in the dollar about 1% today. I think it continues. Bonds are up quite a bit. Rates are down. Like this is the beginning of the trade that I'm looking for.
Yeah, and I want to give you a little more credit too, because you covered your Treasury short, into the bottom of the range of the year. And that's one of the things that I've been calling for to be one of the more bullish dynamics for the equity market, right? If rates stop rifling higher and bonds kind of level off here into the end of the year. Maybe it's just a period or whatever, but that's going to be a great signal for the equity market. So you covered your short near the lows. We've got treasuries rallying a little bit now, and the stock market freaking loves it, right? And my axe to grind with the Scott Bessent appointment is that he is the first guy logically and accountably talking about growing our way out of our massive deficit.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what the markets are really responding to. If you listen to his podcast that I directed the Navigator readers to this morning on capital allocators, which is a great podcast, one of Bessent's quotes is, and I quote, "I think the big challenges for the next couple of months are going to be very path dependent on the election." And he said this right before the election. "If the Republicans, which I'm pulling for, get the trifecta, I think there could be a growth shock and animal spirits are back, and maybe the Fed's jumbo rate cut was a mistake." But the sound of growth shock and animal spirits are what we're seeing on the screen now as the S&P stretches out above 6K.
I mean, he's got a tough task because basically what happened was from 2013 to 2017, Yellen, actually after that, when Yellen was Treasury Secretary, she financed the government through bills. Like the average maturity of our treasury issuance is very short, right?
Mhm.
We're financed through bills, which was fine when rates were zero, but when rates went to 5%, like we're all financed in the short end and we got totally button hooked, right? So what Bessent has to do is term out the debt to longer maturities, which is going to place a lot of pressure at auction on those maturities. So just for example, if your typical bond auction is 30, 35, 40 billion and you're starting to term out some of this debt, that auction is going to be 60, 65, 70 billion, which means it's going to put a lot of pressure on rates, right?
Yep.
So he has a very difficult task.
So do you think that his operation in general is bullish treasuries?
I think it is, and I think it is more from an intangible perspective because I think it's really about trust, right? I think it's really about trust. And here you have a guy that's in Treasury that is committed to reducing the deficit. Now he says he's going to cut taxes at the same time. So cutting taxes and reducing the deficit usually don't co-occur, right? But let's say he manages to pull it off. He wants a deficit to GDP of 3%. Dude, if he gets the deficit down to 3% of GDP, the bond market is going to get the biggest boner of all time, you know? So that's what we're looking at today in the markets. So
yeah. So maybe, we go back to bond strength via credibility, like the old credit market, right? Meaning to believe and stuff like that. Maybe that's what we get back with such a, if you look at the guy's resume, he is a baller of a Wall Street masterclass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
and also, probably one of the biggest experts in the world on FX and rates, right?
Yeah. Yeah. With his history of, literally breaking the pound under his belt, you know what I mean? Like this is a guy that we can probably count on to massage markets the right way, to handle market expectations the right way. And if he's way better than Jerome Powell, who I feel like has done a very good job at this in accomplishing his directive, it's going to be extremely effective for the U.S. economy and the markets. So, today what's wild, we got rates lower and we've got three sigma rallies in retail, home construction, and home builders. So maybe home builders are going to resume trend and take off again. But retail is interesting to me, JD. We've got retail rallying behind the names like Carvana, Warby Parker, Walmart, The Gap. Freaking Victoria's Secret is rallying with the death of DEI written all over the tape. We're going to make tits and ass great again.
No more fat chicks in Victoria's Secret.
Exactly. We're going to go back to the 70s when tits and ass were great again, and it was okay. Everybody's going to be fine through this. You know what I mean? It's just a normal thing that cultures do. And but it's a serious breakout in retail, and I want to flag it because under my theory that sectors that are rallying for a period of time and then consolidate for a period of time, man, after a 2-year consolidation in retail, I would not fade this move at all. In fact,
Well, a couple
what do you
couple
think?
things. So
Let's hear it.
builders are rallying because of rates,
Yep.
right? So big move in rates today. So you got this move in builders. Some of the retail names you mentioned are kind of garbage. Like Carvana, Carvana is crap. Like, and I looked up the market cap. It's a $52 billion market cap. 52 billion.
That's a large bucket of
And
dung.
that speaking of tits, that thing almost went tits up in 2022. I mean, it was like a single digit midget, you know,
Yeah.
like, so there's a little bit of excess here.
There is, but I never fade stocks that get left for dead and then come back to life because I've done that before and I don't like fighting that battle. They come back to life for a reason. Sometimes that's all I'm saying. Carvana, I really don't know enough about to have a strong call. But all I'm saying is I'm remaining constructive with the S&P above 6K here. I think that, between the appointment and the pre signal flares that went off, which when they're happening, that this is the markets reading something that humans can't see. And that's why I believe them in so much. And when I say believe in them, I'm talking about the software breakout, the cloud computing breakout, the Bitcoin breakout, all the stuff that preempted the Trump election in October. And so now we're seeing the follow through. So we'll see what happens.
So I want to give you some pushback on the stocks.
Let's hear it.
Sentiment bananas right now, but hasn't meant anything. So saw a chart on Twitter and I quote tweeted it. The US market cap is now 47.6% of global market cap. So basically half of global market cap is the US. TG, do you remember the last time this happened?
I mean, it had to be the financial crisis or the dot-com bubble. No?
Japan in 1990.
Oh my God, even worse.
Yeah, Japan in 1990. So
Man.
Japan actually got to 60% of global market cap in the
Was it?
late 80s and 90s. So
Wow, I never realized it was that massive. Yeah, it's either one of those things where you can fade that because a number so big has inherently got a bullseye on it, or you can say that things are changing for a reason and they may stay this way for longer than the shorts can be solvent. I'm still an S&P 7K guy at some point during the Trump administration, and it's only because my method of following the market says that this can go on for longer. So,
well, S&P 7K is only a 16% move. We could get there in 6 months.
yeah, we can. Yeah, we can. And I just feel like at this stage of the game, people want to, I mean, we've seen the rush of buying in where above 6K, the thing is teed up like a beach ball if you want to make a sale and risk new highs. The problem is, I think that that's going to be a flywheel trade where we see funds doing that the whole way up.
I got to talk about something here. This is like one of my pet peeves.
Let's go.
The tick size in S&P futures is too small.
Yeah.
They should not trade in quarter ticks. The S&P futures were trading in quarter ticks when the S&P was at 666.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Like now to have and the NASDAQ is in quarter ticks. Like it's nuts. Like the NASDAQ should be in points. The S&P should be like in half points.
At the very most. I couldn't agree more. Of all the things that the markets, brilliantly adjust for, how do they not adjust for that? You know what I mean? That we're still trudging through quarter ticks in the S&P at 6K, for God's sakes. Make it a handle and make people cross a bid offer spread.
Yep.
If you want to trade the fucking thing. That might make it an even more orderly market.
It would increase liquidity. It would.
Yeah, totally. It would increase liquidity and make it more orderly. Maybe that's why it's not happening. I don't know. But before we depart markets and go into some more fun shit, is there anything else on the tape we want to talk about, JD?
Now let's move on to the fun shit. This is a vacation podcast. You're right. So
JD and I decided before we hit record on this that our off-market topic section today was going to be about pranks. Lead us off, JD. Where do you want to go with this? I got a couple of things in mind.
So there was a bunch of my Coast Guard buddies visiting from wherever. They came to Myrtle Beach for a golf tournament, and I had dinner with them. And they told me about this prank. It is the funniest fucking thing I've ever heard.
Let's hear
it.
It's
a Coast Guard academy. It's a military academy, right? So basically, the company commander is a senior, right? And they had these juniors, and they decided to play a prank on the company commander. So they told all the freshmen, the fourth class cadets, that they had to do a urinalysis, right? They had to do a urine test. So they handed out a bunch of Dixie cups and they told them to pee in the cup and leave it on the dresser of the company commander. So the company commander gets back and there's like 40 cups of piss on his dresser.
Oh man, that is good. They're good for so many different reasons. I've got a couple different level pranks that came to mind when you said that, and both of them are from college. Strangely enough, the first one is my lacrosse coach Richie Moran, who was a world famous guy. In fall ball, when you showed up as a freshman, the first thing you did is play fall ball in the fall season. It's the off season of lacrosse, and you go jog to this field to play fall ball from the locker room. It's about a mile away, and it's always freezing cold and bitter cold and shit like that. And Coach Richie Moran would like find the most unassuming freshman and be like, "Whoa, man, somebody's got to bring the bucket of steam. Is it out here? Where's the bucket of steam? Hey, kid, do me a favor, run back to Teagle Hall, grab us a bucket of steam, and come back." And everybody on the team would be like, "Oh, Jesus, here he goes." And you'd see this kid go, nothing but asses and elbows, right? Running back to the place. And inadvertently, he'd come back empty handed, right? Because the joke hits when he gets to the trainer's office and said, "I need a bucket of steam for Coach Moran." And they all look at him like, "What are you, fucking stupid?" But that's a good
like
one.
Box of upticks. The box.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Go get it. It's the New York Stock Exchange box of upticks. Oh, the other. While we're on the exchange pranks, the greatest one ever on the Merc floor, right? Would they do this to a rookie, right? When he's down there, and all of a sudden you'll hear people playing Cowboys and Indians, like going bang, bang, woo, 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 right? Yeah, exactly. And it was because the new guy on the floor had paper spurs put on the back of his shoes. You know what I mean? And it's like one of those stupid, crazy things that nobody really gets unless you're down there and you see grown men.
So, dude, I saw that on the Nibot in 1999. Oh, nice. I took a tour of the Nibot, and I was by the sugar options pit, and they spurred some kid, and the whole place was going bananas. Woo!
Yeah.
Just like doing these cowboy
dance. Yeah, the people that don't know what's going on, that like learn what is going on and why, are like blown away. Like that all of these men are going berserk just so this kid who's usually like a clerk on the phone and sees this cowboy act going on around him, and he has no idea that's because he's got paper spurs on his shoes. That's just, men will be boys no matter, given any chance they get. You want to hear the last one because this one's so right up JD's alley.
Yeah.
All right. This one's called the atomic sit-up.
Oh, I know the atomic sit-up.
You do?
I know the atomic sit-up.
There's all kinds of versions of this, but we'll tell the way we'll tell our audience is this is another frat bro prank. And you've got to get like a guy that's interested in being like the most strongest buff dude in the group to play it on him, right? Because what you're going to get him to do is to think that he can do the hardest sit-up in the world. And the way you set that up is he's got fraternity brothers holding his legs down. He's laying down in sit-up position, but he's got a towel held across his face on the ground with two fraternity brothers holding the towel down. Right. And you get this guy all riled up to see if he's going to be able to do a sit up and lift himself off the ground with two fraternity brothers holding a towel across his face. So obviously he can't see. There's a crowd of people around him, the fraternity brothers that are like witnessing this prank. And some guys are going like, nah, he's not going to be able to do it. And other guys are going, no, dude, I think he can. Like, I think this guy's crazy enough to be able to do it. Right. So the dude is laid out on the ground and he's getting pumped up and he's about to do his atomic sit up. And everybody in the fraternity is like going like this and pounding on the table. Right. And he's all amped up. And as he goes, you do a 5 count down and he's going to do his sit up. 5, 4, 3, 2, and you can see his tension building. He's going to do the hardest sit-up. And as you get to 1, they release the towel, and one of the brothers turns and basically faces his entire nude undercarriage right where the guy's nose comes up. and the guy comes wailing off the floor into the undercarriage, and everybody in the floor has a great time with that. So it's like, I don't know. It's one of those things that I hope it translates the visual to a podcast, but like JD is
Dude,
reacting
I knew it was coming, and it's still hilarious.
It's unbelievable because you see this done to a guy that is literally trying to impress everybody around him and gets a face full of, whatever you don't want to discuss. And to see that happen
Face full of grundle.
yeah, a full face plant into an undercarriage is just really, really funny shit for guys to go through. Anything else come to mind with pranks, JD? Did we exhaust it?
I did. I used to do some minor ones. Like I brought in a can of salmon into the Lehman trading floor, and I would unscrew the phones and put the salmon in the mouthpiece. So they go to like talk on the phone, and it smells like salmon.
Oh my God, that is awesome. You know what we used to do? You know what happened at Dahlman Rose a couple of times, and I don't mind mentioning this because the firm is gone, but it was the biggest Shark Tank of maverick traders that you ever wanted to be around. And Ernie Dahlman, the founder of the company, being the number one. And he was a goofball. And he sent guys traveling to visit clients all over the place, and he'd get them amped up for their trip. But what he would also occasionally do to be a lunatic was he would send somebody out to go buy a giant dildo. And he would wrap the dildo in tinfoil and stick it in whoever was traveling to see a client's bag and just wait. Just wait for the phone to ring. You fucking asshole, I'm trying to get through security. You know what I mean? And like, the phone would ring and he would be like, oh, here it is. Hello? What happened? No. Get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? It'd be the guy screaming, who did this, you mother? You know what I mean? But that's just good, clean American fun, man. And this is what Wall Street guys do behind the scenes, to be honest.
Welcome to Jackass.
Yeah, exactly. It's some version of Jackass, man. So I think we covered that. I think we crushed our Thanksgiving week podcast. I want to end on a hilarious note like that. I also want to tell everybody that we just recorded an awesome ad for the dual subscription. That is one Dirt Nap, one Navigator, one price. Right, JD? We're excited about the program. Yeah, we're excited about this product, and it should be out within a couple of weeks' time. I'll just leave it at that. All right, everybody. So when that comes out, smash the button on the dual subscription. And until then, hasta la vagina.
Hasta la vagina.